Welcome to Let Me Be Frank, Mike. I'm Mike here with Frank, and welcome to our wonderful new office. Good. I'm excited to be here. I want to apologize to everyone for us not having a podcast last week. We will get into our picks from last week still. We did tape the podcast, but we had some technical difficulties, and I had a wedding last weekend, and Frank was busy dealing with getting the office and the new lease and everything and setting everything up. We're still not fully set up. But we'll be there by next weekend. But welcome to the new office. This is where we'll be posting the podcast for the rest of the year. And we're excited to be here. And Frank, let's just jump straight into our picks last week. We had a pretty good one.
I want to talk about our pirate Joe here. He's been collecting a lot of booty for us. He's got some silver back here that he's been collecting. And of course, we are going to collect the booty from the casinos.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Yes, okay. Surrender your booty, casinos, because we're coming for you.
We are coming for you.
Coming for you.
Last weekend we got some booty, Frank.
We did. You did real well. I slid again. I had Dallas was my pick, my number one pick, and Cleveland was my number two. And of course, again, I tell you people, it's rough to bet early in the week. I mean, if we did get up last week, I was going to tell everybody I did buy it at 2.5. I loved Cleveland last week, and then boom, I got hit with a Deshaun being taken out 15 minutes before the game.
It was a couple hours, but it was. Yeah. I mean, we tape our podcast Friday mornings, so we
get up by Friday night.
Yeah,
and we will be here. We will be up every Friday, late afternoon or night. So look for us every Friday night.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we tape this podcast every Friday morning, and we've talked about it a couple times on our podcast before about the Twitter, but now that we finally have the office, we're going to kind of shift our focus over to the Twitter aspect, so we'll be making that here probably by next week, and we'll be posting our picks up. So let's get into our picks.
Sunday morning, so check the Twitter, because, again, sometimes there's late injuries or whatever, and we want to be able to
take our bag or hedge it or
whatever we need to do, and we want you guys to know what's going on.
Yeah, so you're not just taking it at face value, but because our picks can change as injury news changes and everything else. But last week I did have the Lions -2 last Thursday, Frank. I had the Jags in London -3 against the Falcons. I had the Chargers -5.5 against the Raiders. And I had the Bills -2.5. Love that spot against the Dolphins, and it was a pretty easy cover. Had to sweat that Chargers game out a little bit. But the other three, I mean, I just was in control the whole time. You love to see games like that. So a 4-0 week for me. Another split for Frank, but kind of got robbed in that Cleveland game. But we're making booty. I mean, that's 5-1 between the both of us, and you can't really hope for much better than 5-1.
That's true.
So
all right, let's do it again this week.
I know. Let's jump right into our.
Let's make you some booty.
I know. We do only have 5 picks this week, so we don't have the 6. But I've got 3, and you've got 2, Frank.
I'm going with 2 again.
Yeah, but let me.
It's about the 7th, 8th week, and then I'll start getting a little more knowledgeable with these teams. But go ahead.
Yeah, and this week I did not love a ton, Frank. I mean, it was a very sharp. I felt like, you know what I say. The first 3 weeks, there's a lot of, mistake in the lines. I feel like this week, I feel like the lines are pretty sharp. I mean, there's not a lot that I love. Like last weekend, I loved the Jaguars -3 against the Falcons. That was probably my favorite bet of the day. The Bills were probably my second, but it's hard to bet against that Miami team. It just seemed like the perfect spot. But this week I'm not loving the card, Frank. But I mean, we still picked out 5 plays, so I mean.
This is a little bit tough card. If you go back 2 or 3 podcasts, we had brought up how the favorites were winning, and I said earlier that this could be a favorite season. It could be a dog season, and I think the last couple of years you had these late comebacks and a lot of dogs coming in. I think we've been brainwashed for 2 years that take the dogs, and that's why I think the casinos are leaving these lines a little bit low.
Yeah, that's the thing that's throwing me off, like that Bills game. I feel like that should have been 3.5, 4 maybe, and it was.
Two
I
and a
mean,
half.
they obviously would have covered even that, but it was
Right.
2.5, and it was like
And look
they
at
look like
San-
they're trying to get me to take
Right.
Buffalo, but
And look at San Francisco last week. They covered that 14 easy. Well, not easy, but they covered it. So what I'm saying is, I'm still looking at favorites, and I'm a favorite better as it is. So maybe this should be a better year for me.
well, Joe Public's been right all year. Every public team seems like it's hitting.
Yes. Okay.
But let's jump into the picks. I'll kick us off.
Go ahead.
You know, Frank, I know you're not gonna love this pick. I know the people at home probably aren't gonna love this pick. And I know they're probably gonna think that I'm like number one Steelers mucho macho fan. But listen, I like the Steelers here. It's +4 in some spots, +4.5 on other spots, +4.5 at Caesars, which is what I predominantly use for my NFL betting. And I like this game, Frank. We talked about it at the beginning of the year how this division, the AFC North, is always filled with tight games. I understand that the Ravens just blew out the Browns last week, but the Browns had a last-minute injury issue with Deshaun Watson being out, bringing in a rookie sixth-round quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And the Ravens offense does look pretty good, but this Ravens team has a lot of injuries. And the thing for me is I don't think that Kenny Pickett is a huge drop off from Trubisky. I think he's better, and I think this offense is eventually going to come around. And you still have such a solid defense, so you're going to give me 4 points on a home team in a divisional matchup. And I want to throw out a couple stats that I have here, Frank. So Pittsburgh as an underdog after week 5, so after Tomlin has some time to kind of, get his team going and kind of, game plan a little bit more and look at some film. Pittsburgh as an underdog is 42-17-1 under Mike Tomlin, 71% against the spread. As an underdog of 7 points or less, they're 39-12-1, 76 against the spread, 76%. As a home dog, they're 14-3-1, 82% against the spread. As a divisional dog, they're 20-4, they're 24-1, 83% against the spread as a divisional home dog. And then as an underdog after a loss of 7 or more points, they're 8-1, 89% against the spread. I mean, we're talking about
A lot of numbers.
a lot of numbers.
Right.
I know, but this is a tight game. This is going to be.
Divisional game. Pittsburgh should not be getting 4 points.
Oh, I'm surprised you like this one.
I do. I think what's the handicapper looking at when he set these points? It's because
I think it's because Baltimore looks good and
they
Pittsburgh
do.
doesn't really look
They
that
do. I mean, the Pittsburgh's offense don't look that good. Can Baltimore's defense shut them down? I mean, I have the stats on top defenses. Eagles for this week. Eagles number 1, 49ers 2, Ravens are number 3, and believe it or not, Steelers are number 4. So you've got 2 top defenses going against each other.
I know it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be close.
Great game.
Home dog, you gotta love it. You gotta love the home dogs.
And it's a rivalry. It's not a rivalry yet, but it's an interconference.
No, it's a rivalry.
division.
It's a
Yeah,
definite
it's a
rivalry. It's a huge rivalry. And these games are always low scoring and tight and seem like they come down to the final possession. I think this game is for sure a 1 possession game. So I really like the teaser aspect in this game as well.
I like your Steeler bet.
So I think it stays under a touchdown for sure. So I love the teaser here, but I like the 4.5 too. I could easily see Pittsburgh. It's 4.5 depending on the book.
Okay.
But yeah, Pittsburgh plus 4.5. That's probably going to be my top play. Or I mean, all these plays are pretty close to each other. But I really like Pittsburgh plus 4.5. Gotta love the divisional home dog. But okay, Frank, give us your first pick.
Okay, here we go.
The big one.
I'm going Miami. I don't care. I think
Miami minus 12. I can't find it.
I got it at 10.5. Now I made a mistake last week by betting on Monday morning at Cleveland minus 2.5 and got burned by the injuries.
Yeah.
And I told Mike last week, I says, we were sitting up at Caesars watching Monday Night Football, and I says, I'm not betting Monday night. I don't care. What's the line? 9.5. Miami's only 9.5. I can get this under 10. I'm not betting on Monday. Ain't gonna do it again. So I waited Tuesday. I cut it at 10.5.
Obviously, after that
Oh.
trouncing the Giants got 11 sacks, and it's just
Yeah, I was just crying I didn't get that game at 9.5. So, and then if I go for a middle at 9.5, because it's up to 12, and I tell you,
yeah,
great. And we do know the key numbers are 3, 7, 3, 7, and 10, and 14 for betting under or over. But anyways, long story short here, I'm going with Miami.
And I can't fault you for this pick, Frank, at all. I mean, the Giants look pathetic. It's hard to bet on them. Miami's at home. Yes, it's almost 2 touchdowns, but I mean, the Giants
coming off of a loss too.
and a short week Monday night, and the Giants have to travel down to Miami. I guess that's not that far of a flight, but still, you have to factor it in with the short week, and it's hard not to take Miami. But you know how I feel about these big favorites. It's just
backdoor coverage. There's a lot of yeah buts, but there's no yeah button here. Again, I think it's your favorite year. I think, wouldn't you imagine that, or picture that this game maybe a year ago or 2 years ago would be 16 points?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, not if, no, I don't think a year.
No, you're right, because maybe against San Francisco with a great defense. Miami's defense isn't like it, but I'm sorry, Giants have nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, without Saquon there, if Saquon comes back this week, maybe they have a little more pep in their step. He definitely adds he's definitely a big part of that offense, but I mean, they just don't look good.
3 weeks ago, I predicted a score in Buffalo, and I think I was off by 3 points, something like that. I'm going to do a prediction on the game's score here. 34-14. So you're looking at 34-14, and 12 is 26.
Yeah, so you cover it by a decent amount, by a whole score.
Yeah. My best bet, my 4-star.
So, all right, well, let's jump on back over here. Welcome to the Kansas City Lovers Chair. We're going Kansas City, Frank, -3.5, and let me tell you why.
I like Kansas.
I am on the where you are on the right side of the line movement with that Miami game. You called it a 9.5. You took it right when it hit 10.5 Tuesday morning. You were like, I can't let this get up any higher. And now it's up to 12. You're on the right side of that line movement.
Could be 13-14 by game time. We'll see.
I did not bet this when it opened at 5.5, but it did open at 5.5, and now it's down to 3.5. And I get it why people are probably betting the Vikings. First of all, the Vikings are at home. Their passing offense has looked immaculate. And this Chiefs pass D has some issues. I mean, we saw Zach Wilson kind of tear it up on Sunday night.
We talked about this earlier. He said it's the Sharps.
Oh, for sure.
What did you say? 76% of the public is betting the Chiefs.
71% of bets are on the Chiefs, and the line went down 2 full points.
Yeah. So who's betting this game down?
It's the Sharps. You know that it's a Sharps. But listen, to me, 3, 4, and 7 are all kind of key numbers. I think 4 is an important number. If the difference between 4.5 and 3.5 to me is a big difference, and I like this Kansas City team because we have to remember that last week was the first time a quarterback, collegiate or in the NFL, has beaten out Patrick Mahomes stat line wise, which is an insane stat in itself. But I think Mahomes is going to be hungry for this game. I really am not a huge fan of Kirk Cousins. He has the weapons. He has so many weapons. But listen, in my opinion, yes, we're at Minnesota, but we're also looking at a team who has a terrible defense against an immaculate offense in the Chiefs. And I don't think Mahomes has 2 bad games twice. I think he tears up this Minnesota defense. It's probably a good over game, to be completely honest with you. Kirk Cousins can have his way with Kansas City's defense, but Kansas City's defense is better than Minnesota's defense, and Kansas City's offense is better than Minnesota's offense. And I'm laying 3.5 with the ex-Super Bowl champs. It's fishy. I get why the Sharps are on them, but at 3.5, I mean, that's my number on this game. I think was 4.5, 5. So I was right on the open, but now that it's a 1.5 before low where I had it, I have to take it at 3.5, Frank, and I like it quite a bit.
I have your line, actually, and it was, you were right on.
5?
Yep. Actually, you had it at 6.
Oh, even higher. So I was close to the opening number.
I had it at 10.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I would have brought that up.
Well, I don't know why that's not on your part, but I like that you like it.
I'm just sorry. In fact, it was going to be one of my picks this week, but I think my line might be overrated. I don't know. I think Kansas. And the reason I liked it by 10 was because of what you just said. Minnesota's defense is terrible.
Yeah, and I mean,
But well, the Chiefs have been just playing dead ball in the fourth quarter and not covering. So I don't know. I'm not. Go ahead.
it's tough. It's tough. But I do like Kansas City minus the 3.5. Okay, Frank, give us your second and last pick of the day.
Oh my. Okay, we're gonna go with
Buffalo minus 5.5.
God, I'm fighting. Yeah, I'm sorry for the stall. Because I'm fighting between Kansas and Buffalo. We've been arguing about it all this morning. I'm going with Buffalo over Jacksonville. I'm sorry. I do like Jacksonville's playing in London. They got their what we consider a home field advantage since they've been playing in London, and they've been there all week. Buffalo coming off a big win, but I'm sorry. Buffalo is night and day against Jacksonville. Night and day. Oh, I'm sorry, night and day. I'm going with Buffalo all the way. I've got some fun facts here. Buffalo's got 9 touchdowns passing and 6 touchdowns rushing.
That's pretty balanced.
They're number 2. Miami's got 10 touchdowns passing and 10 rushing, but most of that's probably from that 70 points they scored. They put up.
It's probably quite a few from that.
In a little bit, I'm going to give you another fun fact on another team that's off the wall here, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So yes, I'm definitely I'm going to go with Buffalo. Made up my mind, and I'll take Kansas as my third pick. A lean on Kansas, only because Minnesota's defense is that bad.
I
think the Sharks are hoping on this one.
I don't like this Buffalo minus 5.5 pick, Frank, and let me tell you why.
You're just a Jacksonville fan.
No, I'm not a Jacksonville fan. I like the aspect that they've been in London for the last 2 weeks. We don't know how that's going to play out because there's never been a time in the NFL where a team has stayed in London and played back-to-back weeks. They've never had back-to-back international games. It's never happened in the NFL. So this is new territory. But I think it's a scheduling edge because you adjust to that time zone, you adjust to everything. Buffalo, like you said, is coming off of a huge win against Miami. And I get that Buffalo to London isn't a crazy flight, but
you might have a hangover.
You still have to you have the game hangover, you have the time change. And Jacksonville's been chilling there, and they played really well last week. They looked really good last week. And if you're going to give me Jacksonville,
I think you're getting fooled.
Jacksonville plus 5.5
because they look good against Atlanta.
I think Jacksonville would be a lean for me, maybe. I like them.
All right.
I might put them on my contest. That's how much I like them.
I'm still going with Buffalo, folks, and this could be another Big Mac bet here, but we're not going to go.
Well, I already won one of our Big Macs, and you have one. Oh yeah, that's right. 0.
Oh, I know what I'm talking about.
I'm also doing better on the year than you this year, which is kind of surprising since it's been a favorite year.
I had you last year, but this year, you're. Well, I've been very careful. I've been talking about this to myself all year long. I want to wait until I do much better in the 7th, 8th, 9th. About the 7th week on, I'm pretty much dead nuts. That's where I get most of my money from. I really calculate. And I said this in the beginning of the year, I want to go slow this year. I'm just tired of trying. A lot of people like to out handicap the handicapper because they don't know as much. They know as much as we know, which is nothing. And as the weeks go on, they get a little bit better. We get a little bit better, but I get better than they do when I know what's going on. And when I look for the handicappers' mistakes, that's how I make my money. Beginning of the year, I'm just not going to throw it out there. I'm not going to get wild. And I'm just gonna do a wait and see. And so
what Frank's trying to say is that he's a wuss. Because us real sports bettors over here.
Yeah, well,
we got our numbers and we know what's up from week 1, baby.
Yeah, my experience is let's take the money.
No, that's probably the smarter play. If you take it slow in the beginning, see how things go. But yeah, not a big fan of the Buffalo pick, Frank. But let me cap it off with this last one for you. San Francisco minus 3.5 at home against these Dallas Cowboys. Listen, what does this Dallas team really prove to us? They lost to the Cardinals. They blew out a Giants team that I guess every team and their mother is just destroying.
Terrible in the red zone. Terrible.
Yeah, Dak looks okay. It looks good at times and looks okay, then looks bad. Classic Dak where he's just all over the place. Pollard looks really good. I love Pollard. I've loved him since the beginning of the year. I thought he was going to do fantastic. But here's the thing, okay? we saw this rematch in Dallas, actually, for the wild card game with a lot of pressure and expectations. And this San Francisco team won 23-17 at Dallas. And it was even worse than that because Dallas scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to make it respectable. San Francisco owned that game. And now you're telling me in offseason with Kyle Shanahan, we got Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy's coming off a franchise record 92.1% completion percentage. This defense of Dallas predicates on stopping the pass, which works for most teams. But this San Francisco team is going to run all over that defense, I think, and I think it'll be a pretty easy cover. And at a spread of 3, at a spread of 3.5, right? We're talking about a home field advantage of 2 to 3 points, and I lean closer to 3, with my, grading on San Francisco because I think they have a very rowdy home stadium. So you're saying that on a neutral field, San Francisco is only half a point better than Dallas?
No, I'm
a team that lost Arizona, and we just saw San Francisco dismantle Arizona?
I think this is one of the better defenses you've seen in years.
And the only reason...
The old Steeler defense and San Francisco's defense years. I'm telling you, this is probably one of the best defenses in football.
I know. And I don't know if Dak Prescott can handle it. I don't know if Pollard can handle it.
They have the running to handle. They don't have the running game.
I mean, I love Tony Pollard, but I just don't know if he can take all that on. I mean, like you said, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL.
And 49ers offense ain't doing bad. 5 touchdowns passing and 9 rushing.
I know. I'm telling you.
That means they're gutting it up that middle.
And that's what I'm telling you with this Cowboys
defense. So that means they're down there.
I'm confident with that pass defense of the Cowboys. But the run defense, I think it can be exploited. And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to run all over them. For all you fantasy owners out there, and for all you player prop guys out there, Christian McCaffrey might be worth a look.
Is that line moved, Daniel?
What? No. Stayed at 3.5. It's been at 3.5 all week.
Huh. You think the public will be just jumping all over?
The 49ers? I don't know, yeah. That's what I was trying to tell you is that
but Dallas is America's team.
The reason that Pittsburgh is probably my favorite bet of the week, if I had to pick one out of these 3, is because Kansas City seems off to me and San Francisco seems off to me. But this year, like you said, the games that have kind of seemed fishy and that I usually stay away from, they're hitting every time.
Yeah,
it's like you said, sometimes the casinos are gambling and maybe they're gambling and losing. I don't know, but it's odd, and the Sharps aren't doing that well this week. But
I may have been splitting on the first 4 or 5 weeks, but I'll tell you what.
Hey, split isn't bad.
But my number one bet's hit, I think, every week.
Yeah, well, maybe you should just stick with one bet.
We talked about it today. I told you all this morning because I just love Miami. And every week, Dallas was my best bet the week before. The week before that was Miami against Denver. The week before that was Buffalo against Washington. If you go back, my number one pick, I think, is hitting every week so far.
Frank, you're not making yourself look very good right now.
Well, no, because my second pick, well, again, I told you earlier, I am betting slowly. And we'll go see how it rides.
Okay. I like it. Well, let's get to our teaser and our dog of the week because those are our 5 plays. So I'll run through those real quick for you. We got Pittsburgh, my 3 plays, Pittsburgh plus 4.5, Chiefs minus 3.5, and 49ers minus 3.5. And then Frank's 2 plays, Miami minus 12. He did get it at 10.5 earlier in the week. Should have got it at 9.5, but we don't want to talk about it. It's a sensitive subject for us. And Buffalo minus 5.5 for Frank's 2 plays. In our teaser of the week, Frank's taking Pitt. I was surprised that he told me Pitt. I didn't think he would like my Pitt pick, but he likes it. He agrees with it.
Yes,
so he's teasing it up to plus 10.5. And to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I thought about putting the Jags on my teaser. But we can't be going against each other here, okay? I got to be supportive of Frank, okay? He's my brother in arms. And so I don't like getting beat after the podcast. Yeah, that's what we're actually doing. So I just laid off the Jags, and I went with the Lions. So I'm taking the Lions. You can find them at 9.5 or 10. So down to 3.5 or 4. Try to find that 9.5.
That's a good teaser bet.
Yeah, I like that. So that's our teaser. Pitt plus 10.5 and Lions minus 4. And then our dogs of the week. I'm not loving our dogs this week. Neither of ours, really, to be honest with you. But Frank's got Arizona, and I've got the Packers. And if you parlay those bad boys together, it's plus 370.
I think Arizona that win just came out right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, that's like I'm in the line.
Yeah, well, obviously think that. But I wouldn't be crazy surprised if that happened. But I mean, I think Cincinnati wins this game, but it's on.
I'm gonna throw
We'll
some
see if
more,
Burrow
little more
comes
fun
through.
facts before we go. Denver, we talked about this game this morning. He kind of likes Denver. I like Denver.
I do kind of like Denver. It feels dirty, but I
Check
do.
out, if we had Twitter going up Sunday, this might be a last minute bet.
Yeah, we're gonna work on it this weekend. See if we can get it up this week.
Denver has 9 touchdowns passing, 1 rushing. They're playing the Jets. Jets good
Well,
defense.
the Jets did lose their other corner other than Sauce Gardner. I think he's banged up. Their other starting corner is down, which
I think Wilson's going to come along later again, 6th, 7th week. Check out Denver. They might get with this offense and they might. I mean, 9 touchdown passing. They could just.
I mean, Russell looks okay. That
Russell's
defense
gonna
just
get-
can't stop. They're a wet paper bag. It's bad. It's terrible.
Okay, another fun fact. The top passing offenses. That's not how they're ranked against
Miami,
the rest
number
of the
1.
league. It's just that how many yards they've been passing for.
Miami number 1.
Miami number 1. Who do you think number 2?
Let's go. Oh gosh, who's number 2? Chargers.
Rams.
Ah, wow.
Well,
Stafford has been throwing the ball a lot.
yes, he has, and he's one of the top quarterbacks actually. Vikings number 3.
Yeah, the Vikings I knew would be in the top 5. They've been throwing the ball a ton.
And they have to throw the ball a ton because I think their defense
It's pathetic.
is pathetic, and they have to come back and.
And Kirk Cousins always seems like he makes at least one mistake a game, like one pretty big mistake a game. And I just don't understand that line with Kansas City, just so low and it's going the other way. It's stressing me out, but I still like Kansas City. Okay.
Number 4.
I like the Chargers. I think it's got to be the Chargers, right?
They're number 5. I'll just go right to that.
Okay.
Number
So
4.
4, I'm gonna go with
Your buddy's pick.
the Texans.
Yes.
Yeah, in case you guys didn't know,
Well,
Frank and
CJ Stroud is
I hate him. I'm
in
a
the
Michigan
next
man,
couple
though.
years, this kid's gonna be a top quarterback.
I mean, look, he's starting off his career hot. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
But one quick thing, Frank and I actually do the contest. I love how we finished our picks and now we're just bantering. It brings me joy. But Frank and I participate in the Westgate Super Contest. Why we didn't do it together, I don't know why.
Well, I have an
No.
associate in Cleveland. I've been doing it for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to him to ask him if he wanted to get in, he's already hooked up with his buddy.
Yeah, so I'm with my buddy doing it, and he's with his buddy doing it. And Griffin, I need you to pick it up. That's all I'm trying to say. But you're doing really well. We're doing okay, but you're doing really well.
I have 13.5 wins with my associate in Cleveland. I think the top is 16.5, so we're right in
Yeah,
there.
so you're right in there.
I hope I just didn't jinx myself, but I think knock on wood.
You went 3-2 last week. I went 4-1 last week.
Yes.
If I go 5-0 this week, Frank, I might have a shot at the 3-week prize.
Yeah, he's hot. He's
Yeah, the last 2 weeks we went 9-1. So I personally, with my picks, have gone 8-2 and run. My buddies kind of screwed me a little bit.
We might have to, when we get that tweeter, we might tweet our picks in the contest.
Our West, that would be fun. We should do that.
We should start doing it. You look for our Twitter page, first when we announce it, and look for our Twitter. We'll do our college.
It will
our
definitely.
contest.
Maybe we could put some college picks on there too. And NBA.
Yeah, you know, his Detroit game last week. I teased Detroit. I have been cleaning up in college. I know we don't do a college here.
I have also been cleaning up in college.
I tell you what, I've only been playing 3 teams.
I know Frank's been killing it in college, and he's a very.
Oklahoma, Miami, or Florida. I only pushed one for Oklahoma. Hit everyone. Miami of Florida has just cleaned up for me. Penn State has cleaned up for me.
He's locked in. We got to get the Twitter up, Frank. This weekend, we got to get it up. We will tell you what the Twitter handle is. Next podcast, we will get it up this week.
Right.
I promise. It will
Right.
be #1 priority.
Okay.
But yeah, to just run through the picks since we got a little off topic there. I've got Pittsburgh plus 4.5, Kansas City minus 3.5, San Francisco minus 3.5. Frank's got Miami minus 12, although we got it at 10.5. Buffalo minus 5.5. Our teaser is Pittsburgh and the Detroit Lions, and our dog parlay is Cardinals Packers plus 370. Go home, make some money.
Get
Let's
the booty.
cash some
Let's
tickets.
get the booty.
Let's get the booty.
Let's get the booty.
And let's get out of here, Frank. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All
See you
right.
next week.
See you next week.